Good evening, football fans. Welcome back to another episode of Football Talk with Hawk. We are ready. We have got some coaching news. Absolutely huge coaching news. I do apologize. We did miss a day this week. I had the divisional episode was actually recorded 3 days ago, right after the divisional weekend ended. Didn't get it out, I know, until early this morning. So this is technically the second one on Thursday that's released. It was I wasn't feeling the greatest. Didn't want to be struggling to talk and coughing in your ear, or not be able to really think and put everything together because it was just a rough couple days. The ice that came through, work was really rough. Got tired, so appreciate you guys hanging on. Didn't want to make a video that was basically, or do a podcast that was basically worthless. So feeling much better, and we're going to dive right into it. If you're on Spotify, thank you so much for stopping by. If you're on YouTube, please make sure to hit that subscribe button and the like button. It is deeply appreciated. Okay, so it is for me when I'm recording this. It is Thursday early morning. Wednesday late afternoon, it was officially announced that Jim Harbaugh is now the head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers. We're going to go over in this episode, the title is Coaches In, Coaches Waiting, Coaches Out. Yes, I know I only put coaches in, waiting, out. A lot easier title. But nonetheless, so coaches that are now in. We have Jerod Mayo, the head coach of the New England Patriots. Antonio Pierce, the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. Brian Callahan, the head coach of the Tennessee Titans. And now Jim Harbaugh, the coach of the Los Angeles Chargers. So what we're going to do in this episode is really simple. We're going to go down. We're going to look at each team again. We only have 4 openings left. Half the openings have officially been filled. Half the openings are not. We have coordinator news from around the league that we will also get to. So here we go. Number 1. Let's start with the New England Patriots. Jerod Mayo said that he wants to open up the checkbook and sign free agents. They've done this before. It didn't work. There could be a repeat of 3 years ago when he tried to buy a bunch of free agents that really the only one that hit was Matthew Judon. I don't know how much of a free agent destination New England will be for this first year. Anybody that is, or has been, I guess not is, but has been, second string, the main backup, third wide receiver, anybody like that is going to be willing to sign with New England because they'll get an opportunity to play. The cupboard is pretty bare. There's really no lying about it. The cupboard is pretty bare. I don't know what allure this team has. You do have a young safety, a solid young safety. getting older, but I guess a mature safety. You do have some some young corners. You've got, they brought J.C. Jackson back. I think he's going to be a free agent again. But you don't have much to go off of. There's just not much there. Offensive line isn't great. Both tight ends, Gesicki and Henry, are free agents. Stevenson, the running back, I like. He's dealt with injuries the last couple years, but he's a very solid running back. Very solid running back. But I don't know what Jerod Mayo is going to be able to do. They need to get a really good scout team in there. They need to get a team set up to be able to help Jerod Mayo. I hope that he is not thinking that he knows what he's doing. He doesn't have a clue what he's doing. I'm sure he has an idea of, what needs to be done, etc., but he has no clue what he's doing. I hope he doesn't try to force his way and lets the guys around him set him up. So, in this aspect, I honestly believe that this team is going to be drafting top 5 for the next 3 or 4 years. And that's not what New England wants. Going to New England will not be something you're afraid of. You won't be worried about playing the Patriots. So, I don't know what he's going to do. I don't know how many free agents want to play up there. And thinking this out, going through the picks that I know they have, the potential trade assets that they have, I'm really not sure that he's going to be able to build anything up this year. He's got to get the quarterback. He's got to get a quarterback. I don't know who his offensive coordinator is going to be. He has to get a good one that can work with a rookie. So I hope Jerod Mayo has success, but the Bills own that division. The Dolphins are second, and you and the Jets are fighting for third and fourth. There's the reality. Sorry. Now moving on to the Titans. Brian Callahan. I've been trying to wrap my brain about this. Trying to wrap my brain around this. Because it makes no sense. You went from a tough, physical, dominating presence to a guy that's never coached before. And I'm really struggling to understand this. It's like they ran out of patience. There are a lot of, if they don't come from a correct coaching tree, I'm not saying they can only come from certain coaching trees. That's not necessarily the case. However, if they don't come from a certain coaching tree, Nathaniel Hackett and Brandon Staley are two very good reminders that coordinators are not always coaches. So I could be wrong. I know I could be wrong. Zach Taylor has done a good job in Cincinnati. He made the Super Bowl. However, let's remember, Nick Sirianni made the Super Bowl. Zach Taylor made the Super Bowl. But why are you going to bring in the offensive coordinator from him? What does his offense do that great? What's dynamic about his offense so much that you think is going to fix the Tennessee Titans? I don't see it. Guys, I just don't see it. I don't see what they're trying to accomplish. It more looks like this. It more looks like they are trying to get away from Vrabel and trying to kind of relax. But the problem is, they're going into a new stadium. They got to sell tickets. They got to be an exciting team because they got to pay for it. I mean, doggone. It doesn't make any sense. If they're not winning, I mean, I don't get it. I just don't see it. Do I think he can help Will Levis? Yes. But do I think that they're another team that's going to be picking in the top 7 every year for the next 3 or 4 years? That's also a yes. I think you're looking at the 4th place team in the division. The AFC South has C.J. Stroud, Trevor Lawrence, and whatever the Colts may be, of which I still do not know. So, unfortunately, I think the Titans and the Patriots are going to be 4th place teams for a while. I don't think they hit on their coaching hires, and I could be wrong, but I don't see it. Now, a team that could also be 4th place, the Raiders. Here's why he could be 4th place. In his own division, he has Andy Reid, Sean Payton, now Jim Harbaugh, and himself. Antonio Pierce is going to be fighting an uphill battle. They could be the Cincinnati Bengals of the AFC North this year, every year. They could go 9-8, 9-8, 9-8, 3 winning seasons in a row and never make the playoffs. Never. That is legitimate. I love it. I love Antonio Pierce's energy. I love his mental approach. I love who he's bringing in to help himself grow as a coach and help the team grow together. The team is unified in wanting him, so he has that going for him. Like, that is something that is important because he has that going for him. They wanted him. They got him. So now they got to show up. And I think they will. But I still think they're going to be the fourth best team in the division. And they could have a good draft pick just because they're the fourth best team in the division. No other reason. No other reason. Which is wild to me. They could pick 10th. They could have the 8th pick in the draft, the 10th pick in the draft, depending on the season, what's going on. That could absolutely be the case. But they were above 500. I love the hire. He deserves it. I know, some people will say deserve doesn't matter. Well, listen. You failed on Gruden. You failed on McDaniels. The last interim coach you fired was also loved, and you still sucked afterwards, but he made the playoffs for you. Now you've got another intern that has the support of the players. You can't mess this one up. This time it's the players. The players wanted him. The team wants him. The team is going to play hard. If they falter, you kind of get a pass on this one because you're listening to the players and you bombed the previous 2 times. So it makes sense to me. Giving him the opportunity. You guys know, if you've been listening, I wanted to give him a 3-year contract. Let him do what he's going to do. 3-year contract. If it works, great. If it doesn't, all right. We'll move on. But let him build the culture he wants there. Let him build the team that he wants and see where it goes. All right. Jim Harbaugh. The Los Angeles Chargers needed to hire him. The Los Angeles Chargers needed to hire him. Badly. They need a culture set. They need a shift in focus. And they have to be able to play in Los Angeles and be legitimate. He will give them all of those things. Every single one of them. And the way that he can come in. Now, if you guys have been listening, you know one of the things that I have been talking about is the team that he is taking over is not the team that he will have on game day. The team will be minus a couple of stars. My guess is they don't re-sign Gerald Everett. They'll probably draft a tight end. My guess is they let Austin Eckler walk, potentially try to get a little bit cheaper, maybe draft 2 running backs. There's a lot to this right now. Here's something that I want to kind of throw out there. They have the 5th pick in the NFL draft. 5th. They can get, potentially, a first-round pick, maybe depending on who it is that's trading up. They could get a first-round pick. Maybe they get a first round next year. If it's going highest bidder, that's possible. For pick number 5. I think that would be smart. Drop back 3-4 spots. I think Atlanta should be on the phone with them tomorrow about a trade so that Atlanta guarantees themselves at least the 3rd or 4th quarterback off the board. And they beat the Giants. And then the Giants kind of, their hand is kind of forced then. If they can trade Derwin James, and I think Derwin James, Khalil Mack are both gone. They are $30 or $45 million over the cap. Corey Linsley, the center, is retiring from football due to the heart issue that he has now. That will save them roughly $10 million. So they're now $35 million over the cap. Okay? Next year, Josh Herbert, so going into 2025, Josh Herbert's cap hit jumps almost $30 million. So the same roster this time next year would be a $65 million over the cap situation. Okay? It's not great. They need draft picks for the next 3 years. If you're the Chargers, you need draft picks for the next 3 years. Let Jim Harbaugh build this team up. It's important. I wouldn't try to get a first round for Derwin James. I wouldn't. I want a second round this year, a 5th round this year, and a 4th or 5th round next year for Derwin James. I want 3 picks for him. Give me picks to build my team. Give me assets to be able to move, trade, whatever it may be. It's what I want. Okay? That is what I want. Now, how this is all going to play out is going to be intriguing and fascinating because Jim Harbaugh has to manage the cap quickly. Very quickly. If he's going to have dead cap, it needs to be this year. You can't have it next year when Herbert's now $40+ million a year as a quarterback. Can't do that. It's not going to work. Somebody needs to help him manage the cap. That is where we're at right now. Somebody needs to help him manage the cap. So, I love the hire. The hire needed to happen badly. The hire needed to happen. And the way that it's going to play out could be really interesting. It really could be. It could be outrageously interesting. Because there could be Khalil Mack, Mike Williams, maybe Keenan Allen. I wouldn't. Maybe Keenan Allen. Derwin James could all be available via trade. Which, let's be honest, if I'm the Bills, if I'm the Dolphins, if I'm the Browns, I'm like, okay, is my first round pick, will I be able to draft somebody as good as them? They may offer a first round. If they offer a first round, they're going to say yes. They want to keep as much draft capital as they can. They look at the draft and go, we'll hit on these guys 60% of the time. We know what this guy is. Let's bring him in instead. Derwin James is a fascinating prospect. Fascinating prospect here. He can help a lot of teams really quickly. Really quickly. So I think the way that they play this, it's just going to be interesting to see. They got to get below the cap threshold. They got to get the dead cap hit to be 2024, so that 2025 they have all their cap that they need to keep their players around while they're building around Justin Herbert. They need that. So I am definitely intrigued of how they're going to make things play out. And what they're going to do. So those are the four positions that are currently filled. Now, who's still waiting? The Atlanta Falcons, Seattle Seahawks, the Washington Commanders, and the Carolina Panthers are still waiting for their next head coach. Still waiting. Okay? Now, where are we at with each one of these? There was a report today, multiple reports today, that Bill Belichick or bust is what it is for Atlanta. That's what the report is saying. I don't think that. I really don't. If I'm Arthur Blank, Bill Belichick may be option number one, but Pete Carroll's option number two. And the reason he's option number two is he's still young. He's a young 70. He's not an old, cranky 70. Now, you've heard me say that I believe it is viable for potentially Bill Belichick to go to a truly young team and relearn the game of football. Reinvigorate himself the way that Sean McVay did this year. And he said openly, they brought the fun of football back. Atlanta's a fun group. It's a great organization. It absolutely should help a cranky old guy get excited about the game again. He's one of the best defensive coaches of all time. I don't believe he's the best coach of all time. He's one of the best defensive coaches of all time, not one of the best coaches of all time. So, at this stage, you've got Belichick or bust supposedly to Atlanta. Mike Vrabel is interviewing with Carolina. Now, David Tepper better understand what Mike Vrabel is. Big, physical, assertive. That is Mike Vrabel. That is what he will get with Mike Vrabel. At the same time, Mike Vrabel has to understand what he's getting in Carolina. Absolutely nothing. Nothing. Carolina has jack squat. There is nothing in Carolina that is alluring to a head football coach. You don't have draft capital. If you make a trade, you're probably not going to be able to draft somebody that's going to replace how good that player is. You have a bunch of cap space. You're going to have to get free agents, but you're not a big free agent market. You've got a rookie quarterback that is so-so. I saw a report today that proposed a trade of Tua Tagovailoa to the Carolina Panthers for Bryce Young and a 5th-round pick next year. Basically stating Bryce Young is a right-handed Tua, and they'll get 4 more years of control of not having to pay the quarterback. Mike McDaniel can work his magic, and Tua can go down to Carolina. It's a wild idea. And I thought to myself, that is a trade that San Francisco would pull off. That's a trade that John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan would be willing to make. So I'm not going to discount that idea. Do I think it'll happen? No. But there is a little bit to that. There is a little bit of intrigue there. Saw another one where somebody said Dak Prescott should demand to be traded to the Atlanta Falcons. I don't know about that. It's an odd one. My guess is they're believing the cap hit wouldn't hurt the Falcons as much because they have a lot of young players. A lot of young players they're not paying yet on both offense and defense. But Atlanta by itself is a really good job. I love it. I love the Atlanta job. The Atlanta job makes a lot of sense for multiple variety. I love Pete Carroll I like Pete Carroll to Atlanta more than I like Bill Belichick to Atlanta. Pete Carroll to Atlanta, to me, is a young 70-year-old guy that is very much able to play with young guys, is willing to do so. That's the key. Willing to do so. And would have fun in Atlanta. I can see Pete being really excited on the sidelines, having fun, walking up and down in a dome, no more weather, when you're home. I could see that. Not just standing there like a statue. I could absolutely see Pete Carroll in Atlanta having fun with that group. Absolutely. Mike Vrabel to the Panthers feels, I think it'd be a good hire, but Tepper can't fire him 6 games into the season. But I don't know why Vrabel would want the job. The cupboard is bare when it comes to draft capital. The player assets aren't bad, but there's a lot of bad contracts on that team right now. Bad contracts. And you're not sure about the quarterback. But you have no first round pick this year, so you have no ability to re-up draft capital. Like, what's there? Now, Seattle and Washington. So we've covered Atlanta and Carolina, same division. Seattle and Washington. It is funny. The AFC took care of their coaches early. The NFC is waiting. Well, the NFC is weak. The NFC is very weak. You can compete in the NFC pretty dang quickly. So, Seattle. The more I look at their team, the more I love it. Legitimately, the more I look at their team, the more I love it. Because they have the pieces. Now, my guess is going to be Dan Quinn or Ben Johnson. That is my guess. I do not have, I'm not watching anything. I'm watching things kind of close. Dan Quinn was kind of assumed to be the front runner. I think they want offense to be what their next coach is. So I believe they're going to go Ben Johnson. That is my gut feeling for Seattle. That's why they're waiting so long, because Detroit is not yet knocked out of the playoffs. So my gut's Ben Johnson. That's what my feeling is. Washington is interesting. Adam Peters has watched Pete Carroll for 2 years. Pete Carroll is a legendary coach. Legendary coach. Washington is in a new ownership group. New ownership group. Expectations. Potentially, you've got a potential city move. All this. Okay? They need a big coach. In the same way the Chargers needed Jim Harbaugh, they need a big coach. It's got to be a big coach. They need somebody who can come in, set the culture, set the tone, be there. Pete Carroll can coach for 5 more years. To me, Atlanta is the perfect fit for him because it's a young team, thriving, ready to win, easy division. They win that division if they get a quarterback. Period. Washington has got a lot of pieces. Terry McLaurin, Brian Robinson Jr., Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen on the line of scrimmage on defense. Got some young corners, Forbes and Benjamin St-Juste. You got 2 really good safeties. And you got the rookie, Jartavius Martin, out of Illinois. They've got all the pieces. They need a big coach. Bill Belichick to Washington, to me, made a lot of sense. It did. Bill Belichick to Washington just made so much sense to me. The defense can be fixed quickly, and he will win if he brings McDaniels in, and they can trade for a quarterback or get a quarterback they want. One of the two. The draft pick they have allots them a variety of options. Remember, there are very few people that are untouchable. Throw this out at you. If you're Washington, Caleb Williams is drafted by the Bears, so you're sitting there. You have Drake May, Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, Michael Penix. You can take one of those four. Or you can trade. You can trade for Kyler Murray. You can trade for Justin Fields. You could trade for maybe, I doubt it, maybe Tua Tagovailoa. Potentially, I don't think it would happen. You could trade for Trevor Lawrence. Very few people are untouchable. Very few. So in this aspect, what do? What if you call Jacksonville up and say, hey, we will give you the second pick in the draft. We'll give you a third round pick next year as well for Trevor Lawrence and a sixth round pick next year. Does Jacksonville take it? No kidding. Does Jacksonville take it? If you're Miami, you got the second pick in the draft. You just saw what Tua did in the playoffs. If you can get a first round for him and you don't lose your first round in the trade, do you do it? I know you're taking a chance on a rookie. I believe in Mike McDaniel. I believe in Doug Peterson. I think if both of them got Drake May is going to be outstanding in either one of those two offenses. Absolutely do. So Washington, the coach is going to have to be able to say what he wants to do. And then kind of put the pieces together of where do we want this franchise to go and how fast do we want to be able to win. Because if you get Trevor Lawrence, you can beat Dallas. McCarthy can be outcoached easily. The Eagles, I don't count next year. I just don't. Now, we're going to close with some of the coordinator stuff here in about 25 seconds. And that's kind of where I'm going to go finish with this. But it would make Washington immediately better than the Giants, immediately would leapfrog the Eagles. That roster, that talent, Trevor Lawrence is the quarterback. You're sitting second in the division, potentially first. Okay. Coordinator news. Now, this is big stuff. Mr. Barry got fired from the Packers defensive coordinator position. Knew that was going to happen. But Vic Fangio, I don't understand this one. Vic Fangio got fired from the Miami Dolphins defensive coordinator position. Huh? Why? Like, huh? What? Brian Johnson got fired as the offensive coordinator for Philadelphia. Saw that one coming. Sirianni was told, clean house, you've got one more year. Fix it and get it right. That's what he was told. Okay, we all know this. This is what has happened. Sirianni will be the coach. Next year, Sirianni will not be the coach. Now, all these coordinator switches, Vic Fangio looks to be heading to the Eagles. Ron Rivera is interviewing multiple places for defensive coordinator. Sean Waldron, instead of Cliff Kingsbury, is going to be the offensive coordinator for the Chicago Bears. But Cliff Kingsbury is interviewing in multiple different locations now. The Steelers is an interesting one. You remember Ken Whisenhunt went there. Ken Whisenhunt had some success as the offensive coordinator. So there is an aspect to this that I like. And I think Cliff Kingsbury, who is actually respected in the NFL as a bright offensive mind, offensive coordinator, I love the call for him. I do. I love the call for him. I love the position for him. Absolutely like where that could go. 100%. So the coordinators, they're starting to bounce around. They're starting to bounce around. We don't have all the coordinator spots filled. Jim Harbaugh, it is expected that he's going to bring Jesse Minter from Michigan with him, potentially some of the defensive assistants as well. I would. Jesse Minter was already in the NFL with Baltimore Ravens. That's where he got him from. So I totally would. The Chargers defense is going to get good. It's going to get good fast if he hits on some draft picks. That's why I think he's got to move the pieces so that he can then get the pieces that he wants. That is important. That is absolutely important. So we'll see where it goes. But it's exciting. 4 coaching slots filled. 4 are still waiting. And coordinators, they're making moves. It's an exciting time. Exciting time. All right, guys, that is going to be it for this episode. Appreciate you so much for stopping by. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Once again, if you're on Spotify, welcome to the channel. Thank you so much. If you're on YouTube, make sure to hit that subscribe button and the like button. I deeply appreciate it. Guys, I'll see you tomorrow night. Got an interesting episode planned. Hope you guys will enjoy it. But until then, for Football Talk with Hawk, I'm Hawk, and I'm out.